Greetings everybody. If you clicked on this video, then clearly you want to know more about this thing called Overgeared. Now, I won't be going so in-depth that there are spoilers, but I will be telling you things that may get you interested in what it is. With that said, let me tell you some things about a web novel called Overgeared. By the way, it is also a webtoon slash manhwa slash comic slash manga. I'm not exactly sure what it's classified as, but I'm sure you understand what I mean when I list those four things. For those of you that don't know and cannot infer what a web novel is, it is basically a novel, like a book, but it is on the web of the internet. Not a spider web, not some kinda knotted web from Boy Scouts knot tying. It is on the internet web. You go on the www, I read it on wuxianovel.com or whatever, and I find it there. It's awesome. Go there for like Korean web novels. It's actually very sweet. With that out of the way, let's start talking about this novel called Overgeared. The world is Earth. In the future? Most likely. They never talk about what year it is. Virtual reality capsules are a thing. Think of the Sword Art Online helmets and all that, but instead it's a capsule that you lay down in and then connect. The main thing the capsules are used for is a game called Satisfy. I'm sure there are other games for it, but Satisfy is the main one, and nothing else really matters in the novel. The creators of Satisfy, whose names I won't go into, most remember the names, but also because I only want to give a couple names in this video I'm making, they created Satisfy with the intent to make another world. Literally. Well, maybe not literally, but it is made with the help of a premier supercomputer, and it feels like a whole other world. There are no bugs in Satisfy. The operating team of Satisfy has a strict no interacting with the game policy unless there are very dire circumstances. Our main character is one of the main culprits of the operating team, getting into heated discussions about rolling back the game, nerfing him because he's too powerful, among other things. Not the point though. The point is, they want people to treat Satisfy as a real place. Yes, it is a game, but all of the NPCs, all of the monsters, they have their own behaviors, their own personalities, and their own lives that they live. Because for the inhabitants of Satisfy, it is the real world. With that explained, that brings us to our main character, Grid. He is a talentless, hardworking individual, as well as a beta tester for Satisfy. Even with this advantage of being a beta tester, he is behind all of the top players known as rankers, unlike our boy Kirito, who is treated as a cheater for being a beta tester. At the start of Overgeared, Grid is a greedy, selfish, low esteem, and snarky individual that may throw many people off because it is just that intense. His greediness, his selfishness is just that intense. It may throw people off. Most of the people playing Satisfy are of the boat that if you're low level, you're bad, or if your gear looks shabby, you shouldn't be taken in group play. And Grid was a victim of this, which is how he became to be this character that he is to start with. I'll not be going into his real life, but real life events also made him into this type of character, but you can read for yourself if you want to learn about any of that. The first time you see Grid, he's a common warrior, only level 73, compared to the rankers that are in like the 150 levels at this time in Satisfy. He somehow obtained an S-ranked quest to find the special book for an Earl of the Kingdom he's in that, by the way, was predicted by the supercomputer to be completed after like 2 years of the game being out or something. And Grid somehow obtains the quest and then subsequently somehow completes the quest through his hard work and persistence over the course of about 3 months. He explored areas with monsters hundreds of levels higher than him. He died over and over again, losing experience, Also, you lose experience if you die, or if the quest you're on has a quest failure penalty of losing levels, then that's another way you can lose experience. So, when he finds this book that he's looking for, his first instinct is to sell it for money, because he wants money. He's greedy, he needs the money. The Earl somehow notices this intent of Grid's, probably with magic, because the Earl is a wizard. And he gets angry, of course, and moves to kill Grid. Grid can't fight back. He's only level 73. The enemies are too strong for him, right? And then he thinks the book may disappear if he dies. He starts panicking. And then he uses the book before he dies. After reading the book, he becomes the first legendary class in Satisfy. He got the first one. And when you get a legendary class in Satisfy, your level resets to 1. Yep. Level 1. The quest for the Earl he had reduced his level because he died. And then on top of the dying penalty, after death, he is now level -1. All of what I've just told you happens in about the first chapter of the webtoon, by the way. So it's not spoiler. It doesn't count as spoilers. It's all in the first chapter. From all this that I've told you, I'm sure you can tell that my description of Grid was at the very least a reliable description. Maybe not entirely correct, but mostly. Well, I can tell you right now, he does not stay that way. In fact, Grid has some of the best character development I've seen in any kind of story. I have been reading Overgeared for the past week. There's like 1,000 chapters for the novel. It's awesome. The character development of Grid doesn't happen instantly, like some shows have happened. It is slow. It is over time, and it is for good reasons. For example, he starts off all alone in the game. No friends, no allies, no nothing. He plays by himself. After becoming a legendary class, he meets an old man named Khan, who resembles Grid's grandfather in some ways, and Grid helps him with his troubles. They become close, like actual family, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk about his real life, but through his connection with Khan, he actually gains an interest on how his grandfather is doing in real life. This may seem normal for most people, but Grid has always been focused on himself, even ignoring his family to some extent. It doesn't ignore his family too much, however, he does still cherish them, but clearly, the game means more to him, which is why this first glimpse into his mind is so good. He's starting to think about others. He's starting to care about how others feel. He's starting his evolution to become a more benevolent, nice person. Now, I mean, he doesn't become entirely nice and benevolent, but he becomes nicer. He becomes more caring for his friends and whatnot that he gains as the story goes along. Like, through his effort and possibly luck, which is arguably a skill, he meets new people. And although he is selfish, these people want to team up with him. They show Grid goodwill that he isn't usually shown. You've been shown goodwill for, I think, the majority of his life. And at first, he remains his own selfish, greedy self. But over the course of a couple months, he begins to open up, and he reciprocates the goodwill that he has received from his colleagues. And he starts to treat them as actual colleagues and not like acquaintances and whatnot. It's very sweet. It's so good, guys. The character development, it's so nice. This game, called Satisfy, is a world for the players. All the story that happens is planned out, yes. It is a game, it does have a general storyline. But the important thing here is that the players influence where the story goes. The players can choose to be good, neutral, evil, or even morally gray. They make their own decisions. And there are 2 billion players playing Satisfy, which means there are 2 billion variables for the way the story can go, since that's how many people play Satisfy. We see the story from Grid's eyes. We can see what choices he makes, and we can watch him grow. This story, called Overgeared, is an excellent tale of a gamer that just wants to be recognized instead of pushed down. Which, honestly, a lot of gamers might want to be recognized in real life too. Not necessarily by others in their immediate vicinity, physically, of course, but by the people they play with. Like in League of Legends, there's a lot of toxicity in there, and if people were just more friendly with each other, maybe people would grow more in League of Legends. That's what I'm trying to do with my friends at the very least. So, there's some lessons for us all in this story as well. Some lessons to learn, and I think books, novels with lessons to learn, like good lessons, I think they're worth a read. So I highly recommend reading Overgeared. There'll be a link down below to Wuxia novel, the Overgeared page, if you would like to go read it. But that is all from me. Thank you all for listening to me talk about this book called Overgeared. I hope you all go read it, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.